Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If this is the very first time you found me, yay, finally, I've been waiting for you. And if you're a returning subscriber, yay, you know how much I love you. I really appreciate your support. And as you know, I always answer all your comments down below. I love hearing what you have to say. So for the newbies here, my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can decide whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a particular film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. This high octane action flick is now playing in select theaters as well as at Fandango at home. So click on the link below and you can get more information about that. The movie is rated R. It's 2 hours and 28 minutes, which is a bit of a commitment to this film. But my overall movie review mom grade is an A minus. So what I'm going to do is give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out all the things I really liked about this movie, the things I didn't like. I'll offer tips for parents. This is rated R. And themes worth talking about, funny lines, interesting lines, and we'll finish it up with recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also really like. But first, I wanted to point out a sponsored or featured product today. You can also click on the link down below to get this 4-film DVD collection of all the Mad Max movies. It is an Amazon affiliate link, so it doesn't cost you any more to purchase it or rent it or anything like that. But Amazon will give me a few little pretty pennies for just telling you about this product. All right, enough of that. On with the movie. So this wild prequel for the Dusty franchise was directed by George Miller, who also co-wrote it with Nick Lathoris. What an imagination they have. Believe it or not, this script was actually already complete before he even filmed the Mad Max Fury Road, back in 2015 when everybody lost their minds over how amazing that movie was. George Miller wanted to flesh out the entire story before filming anything. And that makes me wonder, well, then why wait almost 10 years for this prequel part? I don't know all the answers, just saying. Quick tips for parents. There is bloody, brutal violence. We see disgusting maggots on human wounds, which is ick and so gross. We see paintings of topless women kind of in the background, and then tons of fire, explosions, destruction, and mayhem. Some of the themes that the movie illustrated very well are survival, sacrifice, vengeance, power, and control. So here's the list of things I really liked about this crazy film. First of all, the film definitely benefits from great performances by Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, two fan favorites. They both appeared to be having an absolute blast with their characters. We get to hear a rough version of Chris Hemsworth's real Australian accent. And as for the beautiful Anya Taylor-Joy, we've never seen her look quite like this before. The rest of the cast is fantastic with their over-the-top crazy antics and looks. The name of some of the characters are entertaining as well, like Toe Jam, Smeg, Vulture, Fang, Rictus, Erectus, and Scrotus. Now, your mind's probably going in one direction, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just saying. Chapter cards tell us what to look for in each section. For example, in part 1, it's called The Pole of Inaccessibility, which is a pretty intriguing title. I'm not going to tell you everything, but just know that each part has a name. Part 2 is called Lessons from the Wasteland. Part 3 is The Stowaway, then Homeward, and then Beyond Vengeance. So I really like all of those titles, and it's a kind of a cool way to break up the segments of the story. The action is just frenetic and dynamic, featuring all kinds of contraptions and modes of transportation. Chris Hemsworth has this chariot-looking vehicle made out of motorcycles that just made me laugh out loud. Kudos to the stunt team and choreographers for all of the amazing action sequences. All of the characters are pretty new, at least in this form, although we've seen them younger and older. Well, you know what I mean? Because it's a prequel. So it's okay if you haven't seen the more recent Mad Max Fury Road. It'll help, but you'll definitely be able to understand the nature if you can kind of wrap your head around this post-apocalyptic world building. In fact, this is not a sequel, but it is the origin story of Furiosa before she teamed up with Mad Max. That little nugget there is really helpful going into this movie. There is more emotional depth to this edition of the franchise, I think, than all of the previous ones. The costume design and makeup are terrific. And Chris Hemsworth, by the way, was almost unrecognizable. There are so many amusing details. For example, look for the crow-shaped bobblehead of Nux wobbling in his car after the final rolling credits, which I just thought was funny. And then there's this teddy bear that Chris Hemsworth character, drags around, and it's just so funny. The environmental colors are amazing. And so I don't know, the coloring crew, the concept art is so unique for this. So many of the costumes are absolutely ridiculous, which Mad Max fans love. Now, with all of that praise, there were some things that I didn't like. Some of the stunts, especially in the beginning of the movie, looked like they were CGI, kind of in the style of video games where humans can do unhuman things. A lot of the scenes were clearly filmed with a green screen, which was surprising and disappointing. I was also surprised that there were so many scenes without any musical score, unlike in the Mad Max Fury Road, where there is a lot more background music stuff going on. Act 3 is surprisingly slow. There's lots of talking and negotiating, and that should be the big grand finale. Ultimately, I recognize that some people live for Mad Max and think it's the greatest movie ever. I've heard so many people say Fury Road was the best action movie of all time. And while I see why they say that, it's not my favorite. So if you're into Mad Max, I think that you're going to get a kick out of this. And if you're not, I don't know that you're going to be a new fan. While I take notes, I write down funny lines and interesting lines just to kind of give you a taste for the script writing and dialogue and all of that. And so one of the funny lines is spoken by Chris Hemsworth character. And he says, "I am the great Dementus and I rule the wasteland. Let's party." And you could just see Chris Hemsworth really getting into that. There are also some really interesting lines. For example, Dementus, again, played by Chris Hemsworth, says to somebody, "You fabulous thing. You crawled out of a pitiless grave deeper than hell. Only one thing is going to do that for you. Not hope, hate. No shame in hate. It's one of the greatest forces of nature." And I'm like, oh, and there's a lot of hate going around in this franchise. Another really interesting line. In fact, a lot of the lines that I wrote down were lines spoken by Chris Hemsworth. Anyway, he says to another character, I'm trying to not give you spoilers, but he says, "That wasn't hope. That was instinct." And we see all of these characters vying for power and control. And then another line that Dementus says was, "Where are you going so full of hope? There is no hope." And yet, one of the underlining themes in the movie is hope, and how Furiosa continues to have hope that she can be returned to her family and her loved ones. All right. So while I was watching this movie, by the way, you can see all of those lines on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. I've got a bunch more, but I don't want this review to be, 3 hours long, longer than the movie. Anyway, so here are 3 recommendations for films that are similar that I think you'll also really like. Obviously, I'm going to recommend Mad Max Fury Road because it is the most similar to this particular one. Another one is the 1979 Mad Max. And I kind of remember growing up and seeing those and thinking, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. It was kind of like, opening up the skies and introducing me to a concept I'd never thought of before, a world I'd never thought of before. And of course, Mel Gibson's eye candy was absolutely worth it too. Anyway, so definitely check out the original Mad Max 1970s. And then I want to recommend Dune 2, but really the Dune franchise, the newest one, because I kind of feel like the environment is similar, and people who like Dune are probably also Mad Max fans and vice versa. And I don't know what it is, but Dune just doesn't really do it for me either. So I kind of put these two movie franchises in the same category. I know some people absolutely love them, and it's just not my big cup of tea, but I wanted to give you a movie review, especially if you're not sure, if you've never seen any of these Mad Max movies, to let you know there is another perspective. All right, that's it. When you get a minute, run over and visit me on Instagram as Movie Review Mom, but you can also find me there as my author name, Trina Boice, where you can learn about my free books when I offer them for free, my products, my online courses, and my other shenanigans. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.